Hey, it's Chris. News! And all the hotness that goes along with it. With literally and potentially metaphorically one of the biggest games that your boy has a little bit of exclusive conversation for right here at the beginning. What is it? What do you need to know? Should you be interested? Do you have a type? Let's go. Big, big, big. Teaser enough for you? Subscribe. So what is this magical teaser game? Into the Unknown. You know them from Aeon, Trespass, Odyssey. You know them from Kingdoms, Forlorn. Teaser from their latest Kickstarter update and email sent to me saying, hey, our next game is called literally Enormity, right? They're going for it, right? Going for the fences. Enormity as a sci-fi open world, endlessly replayable dungeon crawl-esque vibe. Sci-fi meets mysticism, if you will. Does that sound intriguing to you? This universe, they say, is unfathomable. This is going to be the epitome of in space, no one can hear you scream. Endlessly replayable, and they call this not just a dungeon crawler, right? This is where the spin is going. Extraction crawler, where you're spacers, i.e. astronauts, exploring, scavenging vessels that are carrying you to an unknown destination, alien planets, and perplexing megastructures. So definitely got a little bit of an ISS Vanguard-esque vibe, exploration-wise, planet-wise, mechanically, with a little bit of their known, what they're known for, right? The Aeon and the Kingdoms. They call it seamless exploration as well as survival game in this. Massively interspersed, interconnected zones moving from area to area, fighting or avoiding certain enemies while eventually hitting up the big bads. If it becomes critical, there's a countdown sort of vibe. If you know, like maybe we'll go with the three body problem. If you know that series where the guy is seeing the aliens project stuff into his visual field, and he gets a countdown, and you don't know what's going to happen when the countdown hits 0, and so he's freaking out. Anyway, one shot, several shot, modular campaign, hidden stories, piece it together, replayability, derelict space hulking ships all across the board, salvaging techs across the universe, across the verse, and it's hard science with mysticism, magic, and religion all rolled into one. So that sound intriguing to you? It's not even on Board Game Geek at the time of me filming this, right? So the vibes, straight up, right, from these pictures, they're freaking awesome. They're freaking wowzers, right? But that begs the question with any of these games, because the next game I'm going to talk about that was just also announced was from another company that is known for their enormous games as well. How many of these can you have? Aeon, Trespass, Odyssey, the 12 Sins. That is going to be delivered soon with the next wave of stuff. One is too many. Can't have enough sort of scenario. Into the Unknown. Whew. Whew. Shivers. Just when you think you're out, they pull you back in. Now, we're going straight up right next with Dragori, right? If you didn't know where I was going with that. Tanares is going expedition-wise. And they're going swimming. Tanares Expeditions Central Sea. Dungeon crawl experience in a pirate, sailor, evil rising adventure style a la their previously well-known property, right? I'm a huge fan of what they're putting out previously this year on GameFound. Odin is just seemingly spanning that same sort of similar vibe in the crawl, the narrative, the campaign, the unlockables, the explorables that we were just talking about with Enormity. And this is going more strategic, more roguelike as well with this version of Tanares. So you get your Sea Lord, as long as you don't call him a Seaman anyway, or Aquaman, creating synergies, fast-paced gameplay. And that's what I need to see. Set up, tear down, fast-paced gameplay, that is going to behoove a lifestyle not usually seen with this. Little to no details, but crowdfunding at the end of November this year. So that's a quick turnaround for another campaign. But if it's based off the system, that's my question, right? Is this more akin to like the Nemesis that's sitting behind Cthulhu Death May Die. For those of you who are longtime viewers, you know it's already sitting back there. But that's the question, right? Is this that iteration? How much of a reskin is it? If you have some of the other Tanares, is this you know, which one is better scenario? Gonna be an interesting test of the market from that aspect. But Dragori puts out solid stuff, so no questions there. Speaking of solid stuff, right? Dice Throne. You're still waiting for your X-Men pledge. People be moaning and complaining and being over on the Facebook pages still. That's not why we're talking about it though, because in the latest update, they also dropped the mic and they said, hey, we know it's not delivered. We know you're not going to get your copies till January, but truth be told, we got, you know, separation church and state. We got the development team. We got the delivery team. Delivery team's doing their thing. Development team, though, they've been cooking. They've been eating good. They've been cooking in the background. And the next campaign is going to be launching at the end of October. Dice Throne. And I believe this is not a tie-in to several IPs. I think this is, if I recall from previous news, stuff that's original. Does that entice you? Because I know a lot of people were, again, being and moaning and complaining and grouching in the comment section when, you know, Marvel was announced in the first place, right? Hey, what Marvel again? Hey, Marvel. Hey, you have people on both sides of the fence. Can't please everybody, right? Put a good thing on it. I don't care what it is. But if you're going to make your own thing, don't give me the usual tropes. That's what I want to avoid. I don't care about anything else. You know, Dice Throne, solid. Just played it the other night with kids. Awesome. Fantastic. Give me more. So what is it actually going to entail? And if you're going to do the miniature thing again, don't let backers vote. Just kidding. I don't really care. I don't care what Deadpool mini I get. Woo! I'm on the fence. Let's see what you can do for a crowdfunding side of things in the first place to entice me. This is the intro video over on the YouTubes talking about the Dice Throne. They're giving us 4 new, at least right here, teasers of Dark Heroes, right? So, I mean, aesthetically, cool, fine. I want mechanics that are going to be solid, right? I don't want just, you know, the usual retreads. And so that's going to be my biggest concern with this. Personally speaking, again, I don't need a freaking trailer. Spend less on the animation, get me my stuff sooner, right? Spend my money on the gameplay. Outcasts. Outcasts. Ooh. Spooky 4 heroes. New, well, I hope new content, right? Stay tuned for reveals. Okay. And then we skip over here, October 20 freaking 9. You know, you saw the pictures at the beginning of that portion, and does it enthrall you? Again, give me something solid. Give me Dice Throne. Let me try it out. Because it does look good. And again, I love things that are unusual. Give me crazy mechanics. Give me crazy manipulation. Give me that style of things, right? As I said in one of my other videos recently in the past week or so, right? I want this deep of mechanics, right? I don't need, you know, Speakeasy, Lacerda, Eagle Griffin, whatever, right? I don't need that many mechanics or layers upon layers of minutia of getting A to pass to B to pass to C, you know, Rube Goldberg. I want this with 70,000 different ways you've incorporated, right? That's why I love Bullet. That's why I love Marvel United. That's why Dice Throne freaking works. Give me like a Doctor Strange, right? Just give me craziness of how the cards are being manipulated. Give me, you know, just, I don't know, but I'm excited, right? That's what I'm hoping for with this one as well, this coming month of September. But I'm still a little trepidatious because I want to see these guys just go crazy balls to the wall outside of the usual scope of things. And I'm not sure you're going to see that with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wish you could, but again, it's not safe. Gotta stay safe with the IPs, right? Then the other announcement, again, big company. Well, you know, we have a redo of not Gloomhaven into a pocket-sized version as a 2022 game, but from the same designer, and it's just giving you sort of a Mage Knight feeling in a 18 button shy card style vibe. And why are we talking about this? Because Chip Theory is picking it up and throwing it up on crowdfunding over on GameFound in the near future. And truth be told, when this was just announced, the first comments out of people's mouths, get your comments out of my mouth, is that they're like, oh geez, Chip Theory is going to well, deluxify the hell out of this, you know, sort of $18 game and make it 3 times as pricey and just deluxify it without actually, wait, they said straight up, folks, it's gonna be $19. So, okay. Okay. And in case you care, in case this means anything, right? Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs is the one I was alluding to earlier. It's from the same co-designer, Joseph Klipfel. So if you like that sort of thing with a Mage Knight spin now, well, you're going up against 1 of 4 dragons and you can take that to the bank. But I guess actually I was wrong there. This one's actually going to be launching in spring of 2025. So that begs the question, oh yeah, that's right, never mind. We're seeing Cloudspire as well come up from them between now and the end of the year. That's the one I was forgetting about, but that's going on in addition. But speaking of designers with really freaking good pedigrees that you recognize, Randy Flynn, anyone? Cascadia, anyone? Oh yeah, that's right? Because now, new game, still with some animals, only a mix that you weren't expecting, a mix that my 4-year-old would love, cats and frickin' dragons, right? And that's from my friends over at Pika? I always forget. And don't confuse it with the medical terminology of pica, where you're eating things that aren't food, you know, like people eat crayons. I have a cat with pica. Licks the walls, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, but you may remember Pika from me earlier covering their game that went on to crowdfunding of Flow. Cats and Dragons, though, is just going to be a little bit of a different secret unit deployment tile layer. Okay, right? Your cats leading your armies against dragons. But the cats are devious. It reminds me of squirrels from a couple of the kids' books, right? Squirrels are actually the most intelligent creatures in the forest. Anyway, the Cats and Dragons board becoming very dynamic, but play actually very simple at the same time. Jump into a battle underway to earn some spoils and glory. Hard work to dominate the battle and best all your rivals. Hire new tiles into the landscape, deploy units, and keep their strength hidden until the other players can't monopolize or catapult themselves in front of you. So I have no idea. It looks just freaking fun. I can't wait to hear more about it, and I'm interested to see where it goes with this, from a little lighter style, a little bit more of just this looks like a freaking light game filler of the year sort of situation, right? A Harmonies-esque, if you will. Because I got my Harmonies this week. Haven't even broken the shrink, though, so don't worry about it. And that's why it's freaking on my list. I railed a couple weeks ago on Gen Con promos, right? I railed on them. I said, screw you to exclusives at conventions. Because I stand by that on this channel. At the same time, I got to give kudos where kudos is due. AEG, they said, you know what? You weren't able to get to the convention and get the exclusive here. We're going to give you the Let's Go to Japan gift if you want. And you know what? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's not a big thing, folks, but it is at the same time. It's an inclusivity versus exclusivity sort of manner. And the more of that I see, it just reminds me of this hobby as a whole sometimes, right? I've said this phrase several times on this channel, right? That, you know, it's a club and you're not part of it. And it's one of those situations that it just reminds me every convention season that there is a significant element of that. And again, I've said this before too, right? Like I get the publisher emails as well that say, hey, content person, come to our party at the convention and we'll give you a whole bunch of swag. And it's like, I email back and it's like, you know what? I can't be there. Is there anything for me? Crickets. So, I mean, you know, again, like minor things, but it's like, okay, right? If you can afford, if you can, you know, it is what it is, but it's a club. There are certain circles that are there. It's still not too far from high school cliques, unfortunately, in some ways and shapes and forms in our hobby. But that's true whether it's online. That's true whether it's even your local game night, right? That's no different. So, unfortunately, again, as I said to someone else last week, you know, you grow up and you become an adult and you're like, hey, I'm not going to need to deal with this sort of stuff as an adult anymore. And then you enter the adult level workforce life and you're like, why am I still dealing with this crap? Well, truth be told, still going on here. Anyway, though, as another trend, I speculated earlier this year, right? You know, we saw Splendor Duel last year. King of Tokyo Duel, you know? I was like, oh yeah, this is freaking sweet, you know? We just had the other announcement of Everdell Duel, right? Everybody, now it's not the roll-in rights, right? Everybody did the roll-in rights of their game, like, in the last 2 years. Now everybody's putting out their two-player version of their game, which some of these are going to be fantastic, folks. Some of these are going to be terrible. They're just going to be watered-down versions of the actual game, and they're not going to give you what you want. And then the other dynamic that we're seeing with a couple of these, where I'm going with this, is the Res Arcana Duel was just announced. And it's coming out in November. So it's on my hype list because Res Arcana is a top 25 game for me all time. And I love it. And people are like, what do you mean Res Arcana is more than 2 players? I only play it with 2 players in the first place. And yeah, some of us do play it with 3 or 4 players. But this is a 2-player version. Now, the interesting thing here is that it's integratable with the original. So it's expansion standalone, a la sort of like a Wingspan Asia, if you will. Maybe that was the actual precursor to all of these with that. So, you know, Jamie over there, you know, sort of led things trending that way. But that's where you're seeing with this. And then the other one that just got announced this week is Living Forest Duel. So, again, but, you know, King of Tokyo Duel, all of these, Everdell Duel, like, is it actually going to be that much different? Like, the reason Splendor Duel is so good is it's not just 2-player Splendor. It's actually a good freaking game that is similar in some aspects to Splendor in the first place. But it's also different enough that I don't feel like I'm playing the exact same thing. And so is this trend going to stay? And the honest answer is yes. I mean, this time next year, we'll probably have Arc Nova Duel. Boom! Your boy called it here first, right? But again, it just goes to show this is a bandwagon hobby, right? No different with the roll-in rights. We saw the zombie theme, the death, you know, horror theme. Now we're seeing everything under the sun that's earth or environment related, because that's the hot trend. You know, I'm gonna having a review this coming week of 2 earthy type games with forest elements that I'll be talking about and comparing. So, I mean, it's all the rage right now. So, do you care? Is it really good? I mean, it's a very niche market. It's a very great market. But are they actually going to be good? Because some of, or the trend that I saw a little bit more of, say, with the roll-in rights, was that a lot of the roll-in rights, the best roll-in rights, arguably, were ones that were sort of not related to an actual game in the first place. They were developed on their own separately. Not totally, but overarchingly, those tended to be a little bit creamer of the cropper, if you will. Other new trend, I mean, you saw it on crowdfunding the last like 2-3 years, the rise of multi-game campaigns, right? Smaller filler type games that are coming together, bundled together, saving you more together. Well, it's always spending more to save more, right? As I always say. But AllPlay is now introducing more of a tiny line, tiny games out of necessity. There are too many great games they passed on publishing, so now they're going to be doing more at the retail side of things with a $9 price point, pocket-sized, like as they compare to the Oink style of things. And the first are Panda Panda and Fairy. Okay, Panda Panda, draw, discard, make a perfect hand. If you discard a certain card, certain actions happen, like everyone has to pass 1 card to the right. But in order to win, obviously, otherwise why would you name the game in the first place? You have to win by yelling, Panda, Panda! You have to have an exact mix of whatever cards are needed, though. So, right cards and right time. So, Fairy is a hand gesture based game to predict the next cards. And what they say, literally the tagline is, turning hobby board gamers into degenerate gamblers before your eyes. Every turn, reveal a card. Simultaneously, choose a hand gesture to see how the card relates to the previous one. Higher, lower, same, or fist, meaning fairy. And then guess it right and get 2 points. Guess it, you know, the same suit and get 4 points. And, you know, call one of the 3 fairies in the deck, get 7 points. Whoever gets the most points wins. So, I mean, again, it's a cool kind of concept. So I kind of like that. So what's on the crowdfunding upcoming this week, since we're past the news now, right? Well, this first week is going to be one of the biggest weeks of the month, one of the biggest months of the year, period. First up, Cyberpunk. I'm not going to break this all down. I gave 30 plus minutes talking about 12 huge games that are coming from huge companies and huge pedigrees, but one of them is Cyberpunk. This has 58,000 people following it on the GameFound page right now. And that's a question of how much of that is the go on board factor, because their previous stuff with The Witcher cultivates a pedigree and a cult. And then also how much of this is just freaking Cyberpunk and people that are loving that as a scenario driven, campaign linking style of game with a freaking not miniature tank and mech. So I have no idea what to make of this. There's gameplay video out. There's a ton of stuff from Go On Board. There's quotes all over the GameFound preview page already at the time of filming this. They've had videos out for, weeks on end. I know reviewers of better size, importance, and opinion have copies, and I'm sure there's some sort of embargo because there's only like 2 non-Go On Board-ish videos on the Board Game Geek page at the time of me filming this. And so again, go check out my video if you want to know more deets, because I laid it out as succinctly as I could there, but that one's going up. And then my personal pick of the week for affordability and hit the table more often is Spooktacular, also launching the same day from Level 99 Games. Sort of a vibe of Rampage meets King of Tokyo, if you will. Again, I know tons of people have been having hands on that one as well, because I know it was going around and they were doing it on one of the online tabletops as well. So that's going to be sort of the one to watch. But again, Cyberpunk was flat out saying, okay, with their latest update just prior to me filming this, these are the exclusive reasons you're going to be backing it. And, Level 99 Games, more recently, it's been maybe slight price discount, maybe more foil. And so that's going to be the dynamic that I'm going to keep a close eye on as well. And then, of course, snuck in here at the very tail end, announcement-wise, we have to throw in Ra. Ra is coming back. The Pharaoh Edition, the new fancy, freaking fantastic edition that I covered last year before it launched. Absolutely amazing. Love it, love it, love it. Ra is an all-time top game. And they're giving us Traders expansion, which a little bit, trepidatious about, right? When a game is so good, is more gonna just, whoa, or is it gonna sort of drag it down a little bit, make the argument Cascadia Landmarks was not exactly what I was hoping for as one of the great games of the last 4 or 5 years, especially from a filler aspect. And then we're gonna have a little bit of the roll and write, and we're gonna have a little bit of that as well going along with it. It's like a 2 or 3 game situation from 25th Century all rolled into one. So if you're looking for it, this might be your last chance, I think, maybe to get the super deluxeified version, if that appeals to you, which it should, because it's friggin' sweet. The other one, the third big one this week, is Dinogenics, right? Everyone thought when board games were going this direction that it was going to be more your Dinosaur Island, right? The one from Pandasaurus that sort of had the super neon 90s vibe, and then Dinogenics came out right about the same time. And to be fair, when it launched monetarily, like, it was the little brother. Standing the test of time-wise, I think arguably Dinogenics has kind of done a little bit better overall, to be frank. I can't speak to that personally from a little bit of a heavier style of worker placement with a dino theme, but again, it's not really widely available in the secondary market. It's one of those like little cult classic games, I feel like, that's sort of snuck under the radar, and it's not really in stock anywhere right now. So we're going to see if, I believe this is a second expansion from them, how much water this treads and how much funds it can raise, especially if I am right that it's not just easily available. The Board Game Geek prices are jacked up, so I'm pretty much assuming that's the case. And when I oracled it, I think as well, it's not available. So that's going to be the main question of, well, are you in? Is it the best time to get in? Is there going to be a restock afterwards? Again, exclusivity-wise, where are things going to be at? So then let's go over to the Hotness, right? Enough on the crowdfunding. I love talking about crowdfunding, but Hotness is being occupied by a combination of things that are getting the clicks this week along the lines of the crowdfunding majority and then a little bit of delivery, if you will. Lords of Heaven, I covered it on the crowdfunding roundup this week. Again, Flanix Games, card-driven, faction control, area management style of game. And, well, it's got over $150,000 raised. So really freaking good, as a great surprise. Probably the sleeper hit of the week on crowdfunding. Go check that over at GameFound. Then, obviously, we have the Arcs issue. Then, Spooktacular, like I was just talking about, is getting a ton of clicks as well. Everdell Duo, the heavy dueling trend, as I just mentioned previously as well in the video. We're seeing the rise of it. The rise of it. Is Everdell going to capitalize? Is it going to stand the pedigree of the other ones that we've seen more recently as well? Leviathan Wilds is still kicking around down there as well. Again, it's killing it. It's killing it, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. One of the top 10 games of the year for me. I have no qualms about telling you that right now, right? Like, people are always going, oh, I wonder what's going to be on their top 10 list. I'm very transparent about that throughout the year. I'm going, this game is probably going. That's why I put out a video halfway through this year, so that when my stuff comes out at the end of the year, they aren't like, well, Chris just pulled this one out of a hat. No, like, it also has to stand the test of time, and I have to be able to play it enough. So that's still going on. Creature Caravan is delivering, I believe, in the time of me filming this. And then we also have the Veil of Eternity, which just got the Shut Up and Sit Down kiss of sellout, if you will. It'll be sold out of stock everywhere, and I'm still looking for someone to mule me a copy of the expansion from Essen. So in case you're going, you know, your boy's interested. And then I covered it as well with a review earlier this week. The other crowdfunding Dark Horse Natera New Beginning anthropomorphic creatures in a post-apocalyptic area control worker placement style, which was a very, very quaint, nice surprise. And a lot of variability going along with that one. So a little bit pricey though as an indie style game, so take that for what you will. Along with that, on the flip side, non-crowdfunding, we have the Yokohama, again getting a reskin, if you will, from that aspect. The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth, again speaking of the two players, that one's still kicking around there as well. And then obviously the harmonies that I touched on earlier in addition. Apart from that, it's the usual hangers on, right? You got your Spirit Islands. Windmill Valley is still kicking at the tail end of things. White Castle, because you know, Gamenerdz just did their Gamenerdz thing, and a few others that are going along with that. Your Res Arcana duos that we talked about, as well as the Mass Effect board game that's hitting low on the hotness. Spoilers, your boy has a copy of it, and I'll have a review out when I'm allowed to later in the month. Very soon though, actually. And then the only one that's kind of new from that side of things is the Sorry We Are French game called Shackleton Base, A Journey to the Moon. Lead your space agency to expand your presence on the moon. Again, I feel like I've played or seen as a worker placement like 4 or 5 of these games within the last 2 years. So I'm going to leave it to you to figure out how different this one is and whether or not it should actually be of interest to you. The only other thing that's kind of rocking out there right now that you may not or may be aware of is Andromeda's Edge, as I covered as well recently on the Make It or Break It list from this past week, of your boy's getting a copy because he was a backer and he's sort of pseudo regretting it. And I don't know if this game is actually going to be that good. I'm going to be able to do it. But there's some early comments out there that are saying the factions are maybe not as balanced. I don't know, right? Like, that's an early gut overreaction, most likely more than anything else. So take that for what you will, because I'd argue that that's probably just purely speculative off someone having a bad play or two, right? That's usually what it is. So take that for what it is as well. So again, a bunch of other stuff hitting real low. Slay the Spire, Sky Team, Cities, all of those sorts of things. Rock Hard, Mandalorians, all kicking around at the bottom here. Some of this stuff as well because of the other Gamenerdz Day sale. So let's end the video on that. Let's end the video on Gamenerdz Day sale. I hate this. I hate this, in fact. I hate it. I think it preys on a little bit of the hotness, and I think it preys on a little bit of the secondary, right? Like, it's not the hottest of the hot, right? And then that's fine. I understand that. It's probably hard to get some of that stuff in stock. But, you know, like, it takes White Castle, for example, that one off the hotness. Last year's big Essen hit in 2023's top 10 games. It takes the second most recent, I believe, Marvel Champions expansion of the mutant side of things. And it capitalizes on that in order to make you feel like these are things that you need because they're a better deal. And I hate that, right? There is nothing that you should be buying because it's cheap. That is the most explicit, utterly horrible consumer practice to be practicing and to be, I don't want to say enabling, but to be endorsing, if you will, in our hobby, right? That's not even, you know, the good side. That's not what I do this for. That's not what I say, right? That's why I freaking put out every month, which is, August is late, you know, from the don't back anything at retail side of things, but I'm sorry, you know, sometimes things get away from me. It'll be coming out this week. But that's why I put that out there, right? Is because, again, they just want to sell. They just want to stock your shelves, not stock your actual gameplay tables. And I don't fault them as a business. I fault the people spending the money and saying, don't buy it because it's cheap. Buy it because you were going to buy it, and it just happens to also now be on sale for a little bit less. But the truth is that the vast majority of people that are, you know, clicking F5 on this page on this day, not because they need it, just because it's a good deal. Just because it's a good deal. Just because it's a good deal. And the problem I have with that as well is Rant at the end here, ramping up, is that these are the same people probably that are saying you shouldn't do that on crowdfunding. You shouldn't. Crowdfunding's evil, preying on your FOMO. Is this any different? This is preying on your FOMO in a different way. It's doing the same thing, just at the retail side of things. Oh, Arc Nova is $16 instead of $20. Oh my gosh, I need it in my cart. Right? And yeah, some of the deals are better than that, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. The price of shipping potentially for the difference in, you know, half the sum total of the games you're buying in the first place. $15 difference, $20 difference overall. And getting the majority of stuff you don't need. I mean, it's like going onto a crowdfunding campaign, like one of the many, many mini campaigns that we see all the time now with multiple games that are going in one particular campaign, and saying, you know what, Chris, they're going to give me $1 off shipping, and they're going to give me $2 off the price of each game, and that means I'm saving a lot of money when I buy all 5 of them together. No. No is the answer. No is the answer there. No is the answer here for the most part. Again, not going to say for everybody and all time, but if you're worried about missing out on it, well, that's what is being banked on, not that you need it. Take that for what you will. Superfist luxury hobby as a whole. That's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day. Subscribe. I have a Patreon. That's all I got. Have a great day.